dual Brownlow medalist and captain of the Carlton Football Club and one of the most dominant midfielders in the game. Patrick Cripps knows exactly what the AFL roller coaster feels like. Tonight we go beyond the highlights to explore the mindset behind the man, his mental strength, leadership, self-belief, and the pure joy he still finds in playing the game he loves.
The power of actually building something from the ground up is, for me, is so rewarding.
Recorded during Carlton's bye last month, this is Patrick Cripps, Unfiltered.
When I was 5 or 6, I look back on now, but I just had this inner belief that I'd get there, and I don't know why. I just felt like I would. And then throughout juniors, I was pretty like tall and strong. I always had a strong build, but then from basically 12 to like 16 and a half, I didn't grow. So everyone else shot up, and I was just this like basically little boy, and there was man-childs running around, and I hated it at the time. I found it really hard because obviously their bodies were like men, and I was just like a little boy. And I look back, and now it's probably the best thing happened to me because it actually forced me to, learn, skills of a small player, not rely on my strength to get the ball, running patterns, touch, craft, all those things. And yeah, then I remember I didn't get picked I played state 15s. I was the smallest in my team. So I was chatting to a few of the boys at the state of origin the other day, like we were laughing about it, but I'm front left row of the team photo, the smallest. And then 16s and underage 17s, I didn't get picked just because I was too short. From when I was, I reckon, about 17 to 19, I grew basically 20 centimetres in 2 years. Everyone laughs about it. But when I got drafted, I was pretty heavy. Like I had a lot of puppy fat, didn't know what it took to be a pro. And but then as my body transformed, I started realising, size was my advantage. And then I went from this probably least professional, chubby kid that just, grew up on a farm, just pretty happy-go-lucky guy to it's just like trying to exhaust every possible resource to get the most out of yourself in a fun way. So,
how does a dual Brownlow medalist at 31 get better?
I know I've always just like tried to find ways to level up, and it's whether it's like recovery, nutrition, craft, speed and power. There's so many different areas of the body and the mind you can train. So, I just love the curiosity of like you're never a finished product, and doesn't mean, you could put in a lot of work, doesn't always translate out there, but I feel like the compound effect of doing the right things over time just keeps paying you back. And my thing right now is, and in the sports science world and all elite sport, like so many people playing high level, up until their late 30s, even early 40s. Like I don't think I'll get to early 40s, but I just want to keep so open-minded to how far I can take this and push the envelope. And it's not even just from a performance point of view, a leadership point of view, building a culture. I just get so excited with these young guys coming through now and trying to help shape them. So at 31, I still love the game like I did when I was 18, and that's the main thing. That's what I'm really focused on this year. It's just loving training, loving the environment, really making sure every time I go to the ground, just love being in the atmosphere because you just never know when it will end. But I've been lucky enough to play 230 odd games with the dream I had as a small, kid on the farm, and I'm living that out. So I don't want to rest on, I'm a two-time Brownlow medalist. I feel like I've got so much more to give, and you never want to lose your edge. So for me as a competitor, like I feel like I've got so much good footy left in me. But as a leader, more importantly, I just want to give so much of myself to the club and the boys right now to really build this new environment that we've created this year and really go for it.
What are the doubts and the fears? You look at you and you go, he's 31, he's fit, healthy, dominant in his sport, married, healthy kid. The reality is we're all fragile.
Yeah.
What do you worry about?
We're all human, mate. It's I don't care who you are in the world, what you've achieved. Like you can't tell me LeBron James doesn't have doubts or fears. Like everyone has them. That's where the mindset's so important because how can you train your mind to accept them or acknowledge when they come, but how can you reframe? So, if you think about a coin, like courage and fear can't coexist. So, how do you, get down the courage path, or like, are you excited or are you anxious? Like there's actually a choice, but you just got to understand how you get into the other phase. Like there's so much like things you can control, and that's if you put your time and energy in that. When you do get challenged, that's what you go back to.
What's the lowest you've got to during your career? 2020
and 2021 was the hardest years of my life.
Career.
Years. Yeah, like probably more performance, but probably I look back on it, it's probably my biggest growth came from those years as well. I found that really tough from a team because, we just couldn't get the way we wanted to go. That's when the review happened as well. My first 6 years went in a pretty upwards trend individually. Like I was always leveling up and getting better. And then I probably had 2 sort of quieter years. And that was probably the first time, like I reckon as a player, I started like losing a little bit of confidence. I remember the end of 2021, that was the year I really went to work on all the stuff I'd practice and had an off season where I got as fit as I could. I remember I sat down with Andrew Russell and mapped out basically a 3-month plan when I went back to Perth, and like every day I knew exactly what I was doing for 3 months. I reckon for what I ate, like I was so locked in, which was like probably obsessive at the time, but I was like I knew I had to bounce out of this, and I knew I could. I had probably my best 10 to 12 week patch in the start of 2022. I had this games practice match here at Carlton, and I hadn't felt this for 2 years, and I just knew I was about to go on like a run of like good form. Just this confidence, you can't describe it. I look back on every challenge I've had now from a team, like even like everyone's like, obviously we've had a lot of lean years at Carlton. Like, would you change it? I'm like, I wouldn't change it because like, I've learned so much from it, and the power of actually building something from the ground up is for me is so rewarding. And I suppose up until 2000, in 24, like we had some really good years. Last year was probably a really challenging year for myself and the team in like mentally, because the first year that it's always been an upwards trend, then you sort of had a little blip. So now it's like, I'm in this stage where it's this excitement of like, we got a lot of new people in. There's still a lot of stability there from a lot of senior players. So it's a bit of the unknown, but I still feel like there's a lot of growth that we can really make an upwards trend. So that's where, the next sort of 8 to 10 weeks are a bit of the unknown, but that's what really excites me as a leader and a player.
When did you realise football was as much about the mental side as it was the skill and the physical?
I've always been interested in, chasing peak performance. So I've always had that, unpack a lot of, my weekly sort of thoughts and the way I sort of performed in game day early in my career. Like once I got obviously drafted, but the game that probably it really came to mind was in 2019. We played a game against Brisbane. It was the week that Bolts got fired, and then obviously it was a pretty tough toll being captain at that time. And it's a moment I look back on, and I was pretty fatigued that time. Basically wasn't going to play. I still remember having a chat with Andrew Russell 2 days before a game in his office. He was the high performance manager at the time, and I basically said, like, mate, I don't think I'll be able to get up for this game.
Mentally finished or physically?
Yeah, probably more mentally but then obviously the mind controls the body. So the whole system was pretty fatigued. And I think I was only 23 or 24 at the time. Being captain, you take on a fair bit of responsibility, and, you're sort of still learning your craft in that sort of, I suppose, leadership phase, and probably had the weight of the world a bit on my shoulders, even though if I look back now, I probably didn't need to carry that much. But when you're so invested in a place, you do that, and you want to perform at your highest. And then I just made a decision the day of the game that I was going to play, and I remember driving to the game that day, and I thought, like, I'm captain, there's obviously a new coach. I'm just going to go in there and just give a lot of energy and, enjoy it and have some fun, and probably the best game of my career so far, which is crazy. It made me realise the power of the mind that, no matter what happens in your life, you can still tap into different resources, I suppose, in the brain to perform at a high level. I still remember there's a photo of the week before that game, we lost to Essendon, and there's a photo of me walking off the ground that day, and I honestly look like I'm about 35. Like I might just have big, like, sort of baggy eyes, and so that black sort of like light layered under the eyes, and I just look that tired. And then obviously the week later, I played one of my best games. So it just showed me that there's something I can keep tapping into here, and it made me really explore even more sort of the mindset and how I can keep, I suppose, leveling up in my career.
When you realised in 2019 the mind could open up doors you didn't dream of, where did you start searching for answers and knowledge, and who did you start to make contact with? Because you ended up talking to people that you sort of almost impossible to get to.
I still remember in COVID, Masseuse is a really good friend of ours, Loza at the club. She's our head trainer as well. She sent me a podcast, and it was Pete Carroll and Michael Gervais talking about, creating a culture and mindset. And I just got so energized by it. And at that time, I'd already started following Michael Gervais, the Fighting Mastery podcast. I was listening to him all the time. And
he's a mindset guy?
Yeah, high performance psychologist. So his podcast is called Fighting Mastery, and I love just listening to that and just tapping into that sort of space. And then it was weird. I haven't really told too many people this, but I'd written down I think 6 or 7 people on the list. And I was like, these are the people I'd love to meet. Ben Crowe was another one. I was lucky enough to work with Crowe for 3 or 4 years. I reached out to him after I saw the Dylan Buckley podcast he did, and then we got a great relationship. He helped me a lot. And And then Michael Gervais was another one, and how that all worked. And this is why I love like the power of just putting things out there. And if you get to work, things, good things come your way. But I was traveling through America in 2022 with two of my best mates, and met up with a fair few of the Carlton boys at the Nike training facility in Portland, Oregon, and we're doing a performance under pressure sort of seminar with this SAS guy called Pete, and in a break-in sort of in play, really, all the boys are off kicking the footy. I got chatting to him. I said, mate, I love this space. I listen to this guy a lot. I'm really passionate about sort of the high performance thing, studying psychology. And he goes, oh, funny you say that. I was actually chatting to Michael yesterday. And like me being, the way my brain works, first thing I go to is like, mate, do you reckon I could actually get his number and reach out to him? Been a big theory of like, you don't ask, you don't get. And, worst case, they just say no. So, I was lucky enough to be in LA 3 weeks later. I think I triple texted him without, double texted him with no response. I was like, I'll give it one more crack. I was about a week out and he replied to me, and ended up getting a 2-hour coffee with him down in LA along the beach near his house. And from there, I just, we unpacked all things about, my career, also his sort of, his life and how he got to doing what he was doing, and went down this rabbit hole. I said, mate, I've explored a lot of sort of corners in my career around like the body, mind and craft, but I'd love to really dive into sort of nutrition and how that works. And when I did that, I was lucky enough to connect with a guy called Derek Johnson, who's a sort of expert nutritionist. And from that, I ended up working with him too now for the last 4 or 5 years, all online. So it's amazing what opens up when you're curious and you put something out there.
So what have you taken from Michael Gervais? He has worked with the best athletes in the world. And when you listen to him, he simplifies everything.
Yeah.
But it's not until he says it that you realise it's simple. What have you taken from him?
Oh, there's so much, and like I'm still learning about all that as well. But a lot around, like I think the biggest one early is just understanding that separating your identity when you play. So it's so important, I think, for young athletes coming through, especially with social media now, and also a lot of media on the external. What you do is not who you are. And it's so easy to say that, but you got to go to work on that. And I'm clear as day. I know who I am, and Ben Crowe helped me with that as well. Like it's when you go out in the footy field, everyone knows you as Patrick Cripps, the footy player, but realistically, you're a husband, you're a dad, you're a mate. And the way I play is very different to how I am. Like I like being, pretty aggressive out in the footy field. I suppose play with a lot of conviction and passion. Where off field, I'm love a good time, pretty relaxed. So there's sort of two different sort of identities that I do. And the other one that he's actually written a book about, it's like the first rule of mastery, it's like letting go what other people think, like the opinions of others. Like you got no control over that. And I think early. Did
you used to worry?
Well, I think early days it's natural when because you're still developing as a person when you get drafted like 18. This is why I try and help a lot of young guys now. But it's pretty hard when you go straight from school into say AFL, and all of a sudden you start getting a kick and people are talking about you. Usually early days they're pumping you up, but there's also going to be a time when you're going to start getting criticised, and that's part of the game. So navigating yourself through that, and there's definitely times where you do get caught up in that, the external narrative and that. But what I've learned through that time, and that's why I'm in a great place, for a number of years now, is you just sometimes you can get distracted, but quickly pull yourself back to your mindset, the people you really trust, and focus on what the advice they got and get to work. And when challenges and that do come, it I suppose makes you pull you back to those lessons you've learned over time.
How do you end up speaking to nutritionists in the US and putting out your own brand to recover better?
Yeah, well, that's probably where I suppose that curiosity leads. Like I never thought I'd launch something like Alivio. You can see the name of the shirt. It's been getting a fair run everywhere home. And so when I met Michael, that Derek was the guy I met through him, because he has access to the best people in the world. I wanted to, who can I connect with, and been working. I've actually never met Derek in person, but I would have Zoomed with him, probably 50 odd times, just unpacking, done a lot of testing around how my body works. So individualized sort of programs, supplements and things like that. And I felt the benefits straight away. And I'm like, geez, how can I help? Not only my teammates, but my friends and my family. Like, there's so many things that they can really improve on. And then from that, I was like, geez, I'd love to be able to start something with knowing that I was like, it's going to be too hard while I'm playing, so not enough time. But I was lucky enough to meet some great people last year that shared a similar passion. And I was like, let's bring this to life. If we're going to do it, let's do it properly. Let's try and create the best possible product, get the best people involved, and Derek agreed to come on board. And the other thing, obviously, with athletes is HASTA approval, which means athletes can take it. So they were my two non-negotiables. And it's not just an athlete-focused brand, it's more of a holistic wellness brand that we want to help people, especially around energy and, living a better life. We're so lucky as athletes right now with sports science and social media that we get access to all the best research all over the world, which since I started footy till now is crazy how much it's changed. And I can only imagine what the next 4 or 5 years is going to be like with AI comes into it. I think you're going to see human potential go to a whole new level. And that's why, as athletes, you don't want to put a ceiling on when you can play to or how good you can get, because we don't know.
You've played in big finals now. Not enough. Is the feeling of a big final and a win sort of almost knowing what that gives the team and the club and the fans, and is that sort of the driver?
Yeah, I've never had a feeling like that in my life. In the 2023, we're winning those 2 games at the MCG.
The Blues are home! Look at this hysterical Carlton involvement! Captain Paddy Cripps! They win an epic final!
You can see why people, when teams win a grand final, they're just we want that feeling again. For us as a group to get to the finals in 2023 was obviously a massive milestone for the guys that have been on the journey for so long, because they're so hard to get into, let alone win. And then obviously that finals run was euphoric. And although that's my goal, what I really learned last year is the most important thing for me right now is just love every day that I come in here, and because you can get so goal orientated that you want it so bad and you're hanging on. But I really I've been loving coming to training. I love training, love the environment we've created with all the boys. You get those things right, then that stuff starts taking care of itself. So it was a good lesson last year for me.
The Melbourne and the Sydney wins lead everyone into this sort of state of delirium. When you're walking off the ground after a winning final, it's 80 or 90,000 of the G, it's sort of like, you can understand why Mick Jagger doesn't want to give it up. The sort of the whole fandom thing, the adrenaline and the rush.
I remember the siren going against Melbourne. I'm running through the middle and the siren goes, and I just had this, I remember I was hugging Fog. I don't know who else. I remember seeing Doc hugging him, but I just felt the ground vibrating at the MCG. It was crazy. And then you look around the whole stadium, and obviously the Carlton fans are so passionate. We haven't won a final for a while. So you just see this navy blue wave and this loudness. And then you talk to people who've been in footy a lot, like Vossi's obviously won 3 premierships. He goes, I've never, ever felt or heard the G like that. So to experience that, and that's that addictive feeling. That's what everyone wants. So that's what motivates you to put all the hard work in, when no one's watching, because you want to keep living and performing in those moments.
It's funny how when you grow up in that environment, I think because you know everyone and you know everyone's fragilities and what people are going through, it makes you very empathetic, I think. But your old man's busting his ass on the farm. I think it teaches you also that you work hard and things should work out, but also things aren't always fair.
Nah.
Drought, flood, crop, storm. It's a fickle game.
I love being from Northampton. I just feel so lucky to grow up in such a supportive community where people love their footy and their sport. But I always reflect on this all the time about farming and just the community. And mum and dad, a wheat and sheep farm. Mum was a school teacher that came from Perth, and some years you could be the best farmer in the world, but if it doesn't rain, you're not getting a crop. So the lessons I learnt from growing up was always about work ethic, making sure you enjoy yourself, treat people well. But I think farming, you got to be optimistic, because every year you're putting a crop in without knowing if it's going to come back, because you don't know there's so many things outside of your control. But I still remember in 06 and 07 we had some really bad droughts, and I was 11 and 12 at the time, about to head to boarding school, and I knew it was affecting the old man, but I'd actually never really realised that at the time, because he used to always coach my sport. Mum used to always be the team manager, so embedded in the community, and that was his outlet. Actually, he got a lot of joy out of seeing us boys play footy. But then in 08, if we didn't probably have a good year that year, we'll probably, the farm nearly would have got taken off us. So, but then we have our best year and then we don't look back, and just shows you, if you do the right things over time, you work hard, you have a good mindset. It doesn't always work out, but good things usually come your way. And you know, a lot of the, I suppose, traits I live with now, you know, it's a big reflection of the way I grew up with my parents and, you know, the values they taught me.
You talk about, you know, big rolls of the dice. Crops in, everything's in, all chips in, all disappears. But the resilience of Brad, like your old man, to go, all right, we pick ourselves up, we go again. It's one of the great sort of Australian country characteristics is dust yourself off and go.
Yeah.
You've had to do it here a bit, but it's good grounding.
Yeah, and it's also like it brings communities together too, because like when things are going well, that's the power of community, and that's why footy clubs are so special, because it's a place where you actually come together and you connect and socialise in a way. And then on the flip side, you know, when everyone has a good year, like the energy around the town is that contagious. Like it's nothing better when I bring back home they've had, you know, an inch of rain, or, you know, they've had a great year, and it's not only just the farmers, it's everyone involved in that sort of supply chain. So the thing I'm most proud of from our town is like you said, 800 people. Like that, 800 people is not a lot of people, but we've had 10 or 11 players from that town play AFL footy, and the only medal we haven't won as a town is the Norm Smith. When you think about that, all the medals along the journey, it's pretty crazy, and something as a town I know everyone's so proud of. I was never great with the machinery side of things. Like I probably enjoyed the sheet work more than the machinery, just because it was more like hands-on. Like I still remember getting up early, getting the sheep in with Dad, going to the shearing shed. Would start at 7:30.
The best days.
Yeah, I was either rouse batting or penning up, which is like getting the sheep in the shearing shed and getting ready for the shearers to shear. And then, you know, the shearers would knock off at 5:30. Would probably have to chase the sheep out of the paddock. Done by sort of 6:37. Go home. I would have dinner, cook, would eat. I still remember going to the shower, and you just got, you know,
the smell of the sheep.
Yeah, you see the water going down the drain. It's just all murky, and then, you know, you go to bed because you're that tired. 8:30, you know, alarm gets, you know, hit at 5:30 or 6, and then you're up doing it again. And sometimes the school days we're doing that for a week or two, and but I loved it. I take that back. I didn't love it at the time, but like I look back now, some of the best memories I did. And it's like Dad just expected us to do it when, you know, we had to do it. But on the flip side, like growing up on farm was awesome because, you know, we had 10,000 acres to go and explore. So you know, I was riding a motorbike at 3, I was driving a car at 5, going shooting, going fishing, going surfing, all this stuff because we lived close to the coast, hunting, all those things outdoors. And I just look back on it was just the best childhood I could have with my 2 brothers.
I know that you know I love speaking to you. I hope to see you playing big September games soon, and thank you.
No worries, thanks, Sam.